Welcome back to another episode of Walked In. Today we got a special one. If you haven't heard of this guy, you surely heard of him during bowl season. I know we didn't cover this game on the channel, but NC State versus K State, the teams of the states. So this game, nobody really, I don't think looked at this one as much as it probably should have gotten looked at, especially heading into this year where the Big 12 is pretty much an unknown of who's going to win it. And I think that K State has a very good shot at winning it, especially with the guy we're about to talk about. Goes by the name Avery Johnson. This dude's 6'2, weighs in at 188, freshman from Wichita, Kansas. So we got a freshman here starting in this ball game. And, if you didn't know of him before this bowl game, you sure did after it because he went off. He threw for 14 for 31, 178. He was about 50% complete at 45, threw two touchdowns. And one thing that was a major contributing factor to winning this game, he had 7 rushes for 71 yards and a touchdown. So, K State, as we all know, had Will Howard. And with Will Howard, they like to run the ball out of I form, split back, even some wing tee out of shotgun. So, we saw a lot of different things, but it all focused on Will Howard running the ball and their running back running the ball at the K State. So, that was a big thing for their game. Will Howard didn't really pass it that much. Well, I think with Avery Johnson, you see kind of the same thing where there's a lot of runs, design quarterback runs for him, but at the same time, I think he's a lot better of a passer, especially like a true pocket passer than Will Howard was, probably ever will be. And the thing about him is he can also create time to pass the ball with his legs, and he'll look downfield, but you don't know if he's looking downfield because he's going to throw the ball or if he's going to take off. And it's really interesting to watch him play. Um, we'll go through it though. On this first play, he just has a nice little drop back pass over the middle. Just to look at that again, you'll see him get a good blitz here. So he has five down linemen with his running back going out, and he'll end up getting some good pressure on him. And I'm surprised he could honestly complete this ball. You end up having one, two, three, four, five, six guys on five. It's a blitz. So I mean, one guy's getting there, and you can say seven, but this guy's just on his running back that's coming out. You have man coverage all the way across with I think one safety over top, if I'm correct, in the middle of the field, and you end up seeing that running back just take off, and you see this DB or linebacker come up, and he plays it way too far inside. I guess because I don't know, he thought he was blocking, just a bad play on it. Maybe even show blitz, but not actually blitz. Either way, he gets beat too far up inside. Saying here, you beat the hips, you beat the man. So receiver beat the hips right here in this position, or running back, and just wide open, streaking down the middle of the field, and takes it 37 yards to the house on a 4th and 5. So I mean, great play by Avery Johnson right there. And here, this is what I like to see. Now I know this ball was incomplete, but going back to it, you see the pressure here, and he knows the pocket's collapsing. So it's time to make something happen. So you get 3-man rush, and they still get pressure on them. They're back there. Shouldn't happen. It's K State. I get it. Their linemen aren't the best, but whatever. Avery Johnson, he steps up into the pocket, but he doesn't just take off. He keeps his eyes downfield. You can tell this by watching his helmet, especially the strop. He's obviously looking downfield left, even to this guy right here who runs into the ref. And he sees that and he's like, well, there goes my dude. So he keeps on rolling out to the sideline, obviously to try to make a play. And what's really good is his awareness. He gets to the sideline. he knows he can't run. He's looking right at that guy. Look at the strap of his helmet. He's looking right at that guy. He knows he can't run at this point. So he's just trying to look downfield, maybe find someone who's open to extend the play. Well, he gets right up here, right stops right on the sideline. He looks in, and you know what he sees? He sees number 31 right here, who is open for the moment. But remember, there was a guy right up here on top of the screen. So, I mean, he's not really going to get as many yards as he could out of that. So, what does he do? He looks right and throws it to this wide open dude on the sideline. Um, I mean, not really wide open, but open enough where he can catch it. And dude absolutely fumbles the bag, drops the ball, and DB makes a good play on it. But that he had the right idea, and all this is a three-level flood concept, where you have three people flood one side of the field, one go underneath, one go in like a medium range, then the other go 10 yards plus, and it really works out well for him here. He creates some time with it, and he threw to the right guy, and he honestly put a good ball in there. It just wasn't caught. And there's a few drops in this game that they probably could have helped Avery Johnson out a little bit more. But it's okay. This dude can rock and roll when he has to. Here, what I like here, I know it's a little hitch, little comeback for a first down on 2nd and 6. But I think the most important thing to point out here is the way he flips his hip. So watch him give this fake handoff, like he's doing a read, because you'll see Avery Johnson do a lot of quarterback reads. So he's obviously keeping that end inside, um, making him stay inside, so his receiver can have a free shot to catch this ball with no interference by him going out and being able to tip the ball or anything. So you get a wide open pass. You obviously see the distance here. I mean, you're playing 7 yards off. Comeback's a great route right here to throw. Just looking at pre-snap read, if you know that route's there. So in comes in. He sees it right off the bat. He sees that free space, and he doesn't see that DB crash in to get man's on, hands on. And instead, you just see him kind of setting back flat on his feet. It's a good sign for a quarterback. You can obviously see he's aimed right at that spot. He sees the end in, and he sees that DB flat footed. So, what does he do? You see him flip his hips from this position right here to that. I mean, a total 180, like just in 1 second or less. And you see him get this ball out very fast in order to complete this for a first down. And I think that's something that's not talked about a lot, but it goes into technical ability. Um, and, Avery Johnson has some technical ability, especially with his footwork. And, you can tell that by the way he runs the ball as well. So it doesn't look like that impressive of the throw, but he does throw this right over this linebacker right here. And I know he had his back turned. Still a good throw to make. You might say, well, there's a safety over top, there's a corner coming in, and then there's a linebacker underneath. But Avery Johnson sees the safety's nowhere near close enough to affect this ball. The corner's not really either, and the linebacker has his back turned. He's not doing anything. Places it right over the linebacker's head just in case, and gives his tight end a good ability to break a tackle maybe, and maybe head into the end zone. And I like how he gives him that ability. But we'll go to this next play thrown across the middle. I like this. I know it's not caught, but usually when you see somebody throw across the middle, the reason they can't is because they can't read it right. And if they do read it right, they throw the ball behind the receiver. This isn't behind the receiver, which is the only reason it was not intercepted. So at least there is that. Now, it wasn't in front of his tight end, in order for him to catch it without the DB trailing on his back and able to swat it away. It was right here in his chest. So, I mean, take it for what it's worth. The DB wasn't able to intercept it. The tight end has had a chance to make a play. He just didn't. And, he didn't really lead him out there. So, I mean, it's not a bad throw, not a great throw. You got to remember, this guy is a true freshman playing in this ball game. First real chance to throw the ball more than 10 times in a game in his college career. So, I mean, take it for what it's worth. I think he did pretty good right there. You'll see it right here, a better view. I mean, it was right on his chest, a little in front, but he really had his hands right here with the ball more in front of him, and that DB just got a really good break on the ball. So I mean, you got to think if that ball's right here in front of him, this DB does not have enough arm length to get there, and I think that's a fine ball by him as a freshman. So I know he'll have to get better at it. You also got to think this tight end kind of messed him up by slowing down on his route. You'll see him right here. He'll hesitate right there, slow down, and try to settle into space when there is no space to settle into instead of keep running across the field. And that also does not help Avery Johnson. So I kind of like that, what he did there. Here, we'll see what makes him very special as a player, and that's just the ability to take off on a run. There's no real read there. It's more design than anything. He sees the crash, and they run this a lot where it's not really a counter per se, but it's kind of blocked like it, where you have the whole line crashing down, and then you have a puller, and which I guess you could probably consider it more of a trap with this end coming up, and you have that puller coming out to kick them, and then Avery Johnson's just able to go right up the middle. You'll see them run this a whole lot, and Avery Johnson's very good at running it. And I mean, he gets yards, and he's very good on his feet, and he's a tough player. He fights for them extra yards, and he can also throw, and he looks downfield to throw. So I mean, you never really know what he's going to do when he has the ball in his hands and he's taking off. Right here before half, trying to get points on the board, you'll see him look downfield, and this is the thing about him. Like I was just saying, you never really know what he's going to do. That fake throw right there, got that DB to basically fall on his face, and that's probably what helped him score right here before half on a 2nd and 10. And I mean, that is just impressive when you look at it. The awareness to not throw it because you're in front of the line of scrimmage, and to just take it and then tuck it and run. I mean, that's some special awareness and running ability. Here we'll see him throwing again and again across the middle over that linebacker. It could be considered a dangerous ball to throw, but at the same time, that linebacker is just so far away, and they're really playing over top like they think Avery Johnson is going to air the ball out. And I have not saw Avery Johnson throw a ball more than, I'd say, 30 yards the whole time that he's been playing. So I mean, I don't really know why they're so concerned about being over top. But you see two guys over top. You see that DB outside again because it was the in breaking route. He was outside trying to force the receiver into the inside of the zone where the other backers are and safeties are. So I mean, it's the DB doing his job, and then this linebacker just being where he's supposed to be, about 7 yards off the line of scrimmage. So I mean, this is perfect route, perfect ball placement. Can't really say nothing else about it. Avery Johnson made the right read, made the right throw. Good on him. And it was on 3rd and 13, third in the fourth quarter. Got to have it right there to extend the drive. And what does an extended drive get? Well, it gets this play right here. Now, I know this is going to be defensive holding, but on a play, 3rd and 6, got to have it. man coverage, and you get that man indicator before the snap. If yeah, right here. So I mean, you got the middle of the trip split with a DB pressing. So I mean, there's no safety over top. You can see that he's walked down with the linebacker. You got your receiver at the top on an island, and you got a 3-on-3 with the trips bunch down at the bottom of the screen. So this guy will have the outside, this guy will have the inside, or the over top, whatever the over top route is. It'll be an inside over top or an outside over top, and this guy will probably go with the inside route, probably underneath. And what you see is them make a switch, and it's a very good play where the middle guy is just in man, turns out, and he runs a wheel, and you see that middle man go with him, which then makes that DB on the outside have to cut underneath the wheel and his own teammate, and he gets behind this receiver who's on the outside running in underneath that wheel, and you see him get behind here, and he's pretty much burnt since they're in man. He has no help on the inside, and Avery Johnson sees this, throws this ball. I mean, that ball's already out on the break. So I mean, it was an amazing read. I think it was a good pre-snap read because he obviously knew they was in man. He knew the routes that he had there. It was a good play call, and this ball was going fast. So I mean, you see that right there, and I mean that's catch. But you know what? Holding call, good on the DB because that would have probably went for a lot more yards if he caught that. Well, you know what? Later in the game, same drive, trying to put this game away, only up two with 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter. He gets that man coverage read again. And you know what? He takes his 50-50 ball, which honestly, more like 80-20 the way he throws it. He sees no safety over top at the first. Then he sees him get into position. He's got one high, man, man, man. And then you're going to have this end rushing probably with this safety over your tight end. And then the running back either covered by this safety or one of the linebackers. And, he gets a good read on that. And what happens? He sees it, flips his hips, and puts this ball exactly where it needs to be, outside shoulder, and he sees that DB on the inside. So I mean, throws it up for the receiver to make a catch, and I mean, great way to end the game. They got to eat the Pop Tart after that. But one thing I'd like to point out is his ability to run the ball. And, if you didn't know Avery Johnson before this game, you probably should have been paying attention because if you watch the K State play Texas Tech, Avery Johnson got the start. He passed 9 times all game. And, we talked about him actually getting to pass more than 10 times a game earlier, but he passed 9 times, completed 8 of them. So, I mean, he's 88.9% complete for 77 yards. No touchdowns passing, but one thing that really stood out in this game, he had 13 rushes for 90 yards, no sacks, and 5 touchdowns. I mean, that's just an impressive stat line. So, I mean, we'll go through this while talking about it, but this guy is an elite runner. That his special ability, and he runs hard. So I mean, even if it's not really there for him, this guy can make something out of nothing. And I really think that's something to say about him that leads us into next year where K-State has a fighting chance to either win the Big 12 or, come up second and be in the 12-team playoff. So I mean, I think K-State has a really bright future with Avery Johnson at the helm. He can really hurt you in a lot of ways as we saw. And this is one thing I'd like to point out going back to that 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 trap they had with that tackle. Uh, they run it again, but from an empty look, if I can get back to it. Yeah, so they're in empty, and you watch as I think it's a guard tackle pull, or no, it's both guards. So what you'll see is everybody down block, both guards pull. So I mean, it's really more like a counter. The way they block it, because he goes out and cuts back in. And they do this quite a few times against Texas Tech. Texas Tech just couldn't defend it. And they run it so well. I'll say counter is one of Walk's favorite plays. I know he's not here with me right now, but I know counter is what Walk's bread and butter is. And this is how we ran our counter coaching a few years ago. I think Locke still runs it this way. You get a better look at it right here, but you just have everybody down blocking. You have two pullers, and when he gets, when you're running back, which I guess since they're an empty, be your quarterback running the ball. When your quarterback gets to outside, following them blocks, you just cut it right back inside, and it works out so well. It really does. And I think they have a lot of success off of that. With Avery Johnson in the backfield, they don't really have to rely on their running back to pick up most of their yards because Avery Johnson can run the ball and he can pass the ball. So this guy can pass for 30 times a game, and you don't have to worry about him throwing a pick. He makes smart decisions, and you can also extend plays on his feet. You don't really have to worry about sacks. Honestly, if he has more than 16 sacks next year, I'll be surprised just because the way they run their offense. So, I mean, I think next year you go in as K State with Avery Johnson and you run a lot of quarterback counter, quarterback power. You run QB reads, you run QB draws, and then I don't know if he can throw the deep ball. I'm sure he can, at least 40 yards. But, you try to beat them underneath like you did in the game against NC State. And when they give you something over top, when they go in man, you get one of your receivers do some switch verts and you burn them and you let Avery Johnson throw that ball. And I think that they have a very bright future with Avery Johnson. I've said that multiple times. And I'll say it the rest of the year, probably if you watch any of our videos. But I mean, this kid is something special. He can run the ball. You never know if he's going to pass it when he's running or running it. So I think that's what makes him so dynamic. You see that in more experienced guys such as Dylan Gabriel. So I know we'll go over him soon. But I mean, you don't really see that a lot. It's very unique and more veteran like to do. And this guy's only a freshman. So I mean, he'll be going into his true sophomore year next year. So I mean, if you're a K State fan, you got to be excited to have 3 more years out of this guy. With that being said, uh, this is me here at Locked In. All y'all out there, stay locked in.